Today on the official Marvel podcast, we're here from the cast of Marvel Television's Ironheart, Dominique Thorne and Anthony Ramos.
I always wanted to be a superhero, I never thought I'd play a villain, which is even better.
And Marvel Comics Associate Editor Annalise Bissa tells us all about the new intergalactic comic series, Imperial.
A bunch of events have been occurring. There's a little bit of a detente going on. They're pretty peaceful. Our different Marvel cosmic entities are now going to be at each other's throats.
Plus, we'll catch up on the comic book history of Nova.
I'm Victoria Ying.
I'm Quinn Lamar.
And this is the official Marvel podcast. The wait is over. All episodes of Marvel Television's Ironheart are streaming now. I am so excited to finish this series. So what kind of journey does Riri Williams go through in the show? Actress Dominique Thorne, who plays Riri, shares her thoughts on what viewers can expect.
I definitely think Riri has a lot of reflection to do. And in the course of that, she's starting to just be forced to face different parts of herself that maybe she forgot were there. Willingly, I think, for a lot of them. But in the answering and the combing through of those questions, it, of course, is going to take her to deeper, more honest versions of herself. And I think at every level, there is a new challenge or a new part of herself that she can either choose to embrace and address and lean into, or to shun and push away and be met with all of the challenges and the opposition that comes with that.
We haven't seen Riri since Marvel Studios' Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Dominique shares what felt different about returning to Riri's world with Ironheart.
I think the city of Chicago definitely helps to make Riri feel a bit more comfortable, which kind of works for and against her a bit in the series. You know, she probably has her guard down a bit more than she did when she was dealing with the folks in Wakanda or Talokan. But yeah, I think her going back home just causes her to have to confront a lot about her past and about the things that have made her who she is that maybe she just wasn't giving as much attention to before she was forced to go home.
Riri Williams and Tony Stark both share a vast scientific curiosity and the technical know-how to bring their inventions to life. But otherwise, they're very different. Riri wants to build her own legacy and forge her own way. Dominique explains why it was important for her to tell this story where Riri learns to stand on her own.
Well, I think there is absolutely nothing left for anyone to offer the MCU that Tony Stark didn't accomplish himself already. I mean, his impact is so clear and it's having effects still to this day. So I don't think there was ever a world where Riri or anyone for that matter could sort of infringe upon that. And I think by nature of them being different people with different backgrounds and ways of being in the world, that it just creates a different set of needs and also a different set of, I suppose, obligations in some ways, or at least the driving force behind, these things that they're each fighting for are coming from a different place, even if in the end, it kind of brings the impact together.
Ironheart will mark actor Anthony Ramos' debut as the cloaked criminal mastermind, the Hood. Anthony remembers when he saw himself in costume for the first time.
I remember the exact moment. It was incredible. It was crazy. It was amazing. I always wanted to be a superhero, I never thought I'd play a villain, which is even better, honestly. And I remember when I put it on, just the feeling of it changed my whole vibe, the whole demeanor. I was like, all right, this is what it feels like. It feels great. It felt amazing. It felt expensive.
In addition to the infamous cloak, the Hood's tattoos are also a big part of his identity.
They put them tattoos on me. That was, every day there was levels 1 through 7. So depending on what you could see and depending on what episode we were in was how long it would take. If I was doing level 7, it was 4 hours. And then it would span anywhere between that 4 hours to, it could take 30 minutes to do level 1. But But those tattoos, every tattoo we thought about a lot of them. So it was just wanting that to be a big part of his heritage and his tattoos. And as those scars increased on his body, right, it's like that, almost like that metaphor for life, right? We like to cover our scars up with other things, and for him, it was his tattoos and his clothes and his persona and his, the more the scars increased, the more he had that need for power. If you really zoom in, a little bit on them tattoos, there's a lot of symbolism.
Dominique and Anthony are also grateful for the opportunity to do stunts with such an incredible team.
I like the stunt days, the days when I got to go into the stunt camp over there and see what they had cooking for us. I love those days, honestly. Like when you walk in and the whole team is there and they're practicing, looking all cool, and then they set up. It's almost like they're the actors for that day and they show you what they want you to do and what the plan is. And of course they make it look insane. Shout out to stunts. Danny Hernandez. Oh my gosh. So good, his whole team.
And my double Flacco was amazing.
Flacco was cool.
so talented.
And Kalina.
Yeah, shooting in Chicago was incredible too. Just all the whole time in Chicago, I loved it. I had a great time. Just feeling the pulse of the city and feeling that element in the show was really awesome.
Ironheart will also mark the debut of actor Sacha Baron Cohen in the MCU. Dominique and Anthony describe what it was like working with him, and that reveal from the final episode.
It was incredible.
Yeah, he's such a character. It's insane.
I mean, he's hilarious, like in real life.
Oh my God.
But, I mean, some of those scenes with him, in the pizzeria, we had a scene in the reflective room kind of thing. He's just so good and he's so present and he switches it up on you sometimes too. Yeah. Like he'll switch it up on you and won't tell you
which is great.
I love it.
It's incredible.
And it just keeps you on your toes and it keeps you you're just so locked in and he keeps it within the story and he's flowing, but he's just so fluid in his craft that it was amazing. It was like a masterclass working with him, honestly. I had a good time. I had fun too.
All episodes of Ironheart are now streaming only on Disney+.
Comic readers get excited to take a tour of the literal Marvel Universe because Imperial issue number 1 is out now.
That's right. The 4-issue event series written by Jonathan Hickman follows a cosmic journey of epic proportions. Here's Marvel Comics Associate Editor Annalise Bissa sharing what we can expect from this exciting new chapter in Marvel Comics.
My name is Annalise Bissa, and I am an associate editor in the X-Men office. I'm also editing Imperial and a bunch of other cosmic projects for Marvel. Imperial is an amazing upcoming Marvel Comics event. It's a 4-part book with additional sort of interstitial pieces that are core to the story called Imperial War. There's 5 of those that are super exciting as well. But yeah, Imperial is the overarching name for this big earth-shaking but universe, galaxy-shaking event that we're putting together. And as one of the editors of the project, along with Tom Brevoort, I have been involved in putting the whole thing together. So working with Jonathan Hickman, who's the writer, our artists, Iban Coelho and Federico Vincentini, who are all both amazing, our colors, our letterer, whole team, all working together to make this story as big and exciting and hopefully, surprising for our readers as possible. So in Imperial number 1, we are launching into war. A bunch of events have been occurring. There's a little bit of a detente going on. They're pretty peaceful. Our different Marvel cosmic entities are now going to be at each other's throats. We know that Hulk, She-Hulk, Amadeus Cho, Star-Lord, and Nova will all be appearing in Imperial. But in terms of other exciting characters, we'll have members of our Wakandan delegation, including Black Panther and his sister, Princess Shuri. They're both huge parts of this event, and Wakanda and the intergalactic empire of Wakanda that you might remember from some previous Marvel stories are all heavily involved and are a core part of everything falling apart and all the events that spiral out. One of the characters that is going to have a really big change to their status quo is Nova. Nova has been, sort of being the last Nova in space for a while. And, he's going to have a change to the way that he has to operate and the things that he has to undertake as a character moving forward. That is going to make his life a little more complicated. I think a lot of people are really excited to see Hulk return to Planet Sakaar. That's a planet that is a core part of a huge piece of the Hulk mythology. And so just seeing the Hulk back and seeing multiple Hulks on Planet Sakaar is very cool. It's very much a return to form, and that awesome gladiatorial spirit of that planet definitely comes into play. There will be a ton of changes to characters, their status quos, and the power dynamics of the Marvel Universe. I think everywhere that we've got our main core cast landing is at least a little bit different from where they're starting out. And in many cases, it is worlds, planets, and galaxies away from where we started with them. In terms of what readers need to know jumping into this story, I think the hope is that no matter how much you know or how little you know about Marvel Cosmic, you will understand who all the different players are once you finish reading Imperial, and can hopefully go forward and understand the rest of everything that's going to spin out of it. You can go back and discover more. And if you do know Marvel Cosmic and you love it, this is even more to love, and there will be lots for you to get excited about and sink your teeth into.
Imperial issue number 1 by Jonathan Hickman, Federico Vicentini, and Marco Cacchetto is on sale now at your local comic shop. Without a doubt, Nova is one of Marvel Comics' most resilient heroes. Against all odds, Richard Rider has survived everything from planetary destruction to the Annihilation Wave.
Ahead of his return in Imperial issue number 1, let's catch up on the action-packed comic book history of Nova. And to tell us all about it, we take you to a special guest coming to us all the way across the galaxy on the planet Xandar. Koldor, take it away.
Hello, and welcome to the Museum of Intergalactic History. My name is Koldor, and I'll be your guide today through our special exhibit on the life and heroics of the legendary Richard Rider. Can't believe I had to say that. Can't believe I have to say this. The greatest of all Nova Corpsmen. As we all know, the Nova Corps was for generations the elite defense force of the planet Xandar, guided by the living computer known as the World Mind and imbued with the awesome power of the Cosmic Nova Force. But even Xandar's finest were not unbeatable, and one tragic day, Xandar was destroyed by the space pirate Zor in a battle that took the lives of nearly every Nova Centurion. Thankfully, with his dying breath, the one surviving Centurion, Roman Day, was able to pass along the Nova Force to the most worthy. No. I can't do this. I'm going off script. You want to know about Richard Rider? I'll tell you about Richard Rider, all right? But not this idol-worshipping nonsense that the museum wrote. I'll give you the story the way I know it as a Xandarian. Okay, so Roman Day is the only Nova left, and he's dying. And he hops in his ship, and he chases Zor to the planet Earth. But he doesn't scope out all the Earthlings and find the most worthy one to become a successor. No, he just shunts off all of his Nova Force into some random teenager from Long Island and crosses his fingers. Yeah, that's how Richard Rider becomes a superhero. Pure, unadulterated luck. And the surge of cosmic power knocks the kid into a coma. So, yeah, nice job, Roman. When Rider wakes up in the hospital, though, he finds he can fly, he can shoot energy beams, and he's got super strength and is practically invulnerable. But he has no idea why until he finds the Nova uniform Roman left for him and puts on the helmet. And the helmet telepathically feeds him Roman's whole story, tells him that he is now Nova Prime, and instructs him on how to find and defeat Zor, which he does. So, now, this random Earth kid is the sole representative of the vaunted Nova Corps. And that's just not cool. The Corps was built to protect Xandar. They were the best Xandar had to offer. I grew up wanting nothing more than to be a Nova someday. They were legends with a long and storied history. We Xandarians deserve more than some Earthling high schooler worried about clearing up his pimples before junior prom. Anyway, Ryder spends the next several months trying to figure out how to use his powers and taking on, let's face it, C-list supervillains under the name Nova the Human Rocket. I have a problem with every word in that name except the. Okay, while Ryder is playing superhero in New York, Xandar is being rebuilt. Eventually, the World Mind contacts Ryder through his helmet and tells him that, as Nova Prime, he should be there protecting Xandar. To the kid's credit, he goes, and he does a passable job of keeping the planet safe. But after a couple of measly years, he's all like, wah, I miss my planet, I want to go home. But if he wants to leave, he'll have to relinquish the Nova Force. Guess what he does? Yeah, this nobody has been gifted with one of the most powerful forces in the cosmos. And he's like, yeah, sure, I'll give it up because I miss eating microwave pizzas or whatever. So Rich Ryder's back in New York, just a powerless human again. And ready for another shocker? He hates it. He gets all depressed and mopey and he's like, I used to have universal power at my fingertips and now I'm just a fry cook. It's not fair. And here's the kicker. While he's back on Earth having a pity party for himself, Xandar gets destroyed. Like, literally, the whole planet gone. So, yeah, thanks Nova Prime. Meanwhile, this other Earth hero, Night Thrasher, realizes that Ryder still somehow has Nova Force in him. I assume it's because, after Xandar's destruction, the World Mind had no choice but to send all that Nova power to the last person who had it. In other words, an act of desperation. Anyway, Night Thrasher helps Ryder regain access to his powers and recruits him to his team, the New Warriors. This is when Earth media starts referring to him as Kid Nova. Even though he's in his early 20s by this point, a development I love because Ryder's so clearly bothered by it. He gets a scruffy beard, he grows his hair long, tries for that gritty winter soldier look. But it's when Night Thrasher makes him a new version of his old Nova costume that Ryder finally starts to remember why he got all this power in the first place. He goes to visit good old Xandar and, oh, look, it got destroyed because I wasn't around to protect it. But, to be fair, he makes up for it. He uses the full power of Nova Force to revive the planet and, working with World Mind, which has the souls of all Xandarians backed up on its computer brain, resurrects the old Nova Corpsman too, which, okay, I can't say that wasn't a good thing. So yay, the Nova Corps is back, bigger and better than ever. They decide to expand their mission, protecting not only Xandar, but the entire galaxy, even if for some reason they still don't recruit me. But, oh, best of all, Richard Ryder is no longer Nova Prime. He's just one soldier of many among the Nova Corps ranks. For the first time, he's got superiors to answer to, and he's not too happy about it. Wah. Also, juggling his duties as both a Nova on Xandar and a New Warrior on Earth isn't the easiest trick. Before long, there comes this incident in which Ryder is in the middle of trying to save Earth from an enormous bomb when he gets an urgent distress call from Xandar. Big surprise. Ryder chooses his home planet, and he's kicked out of the Corps for it, leaving an opening they chose not to give to me, but to another Xandarian, Garthan Sol, who has made the new Nova protecting Earth. Even though he's mopey and powerless again, Ryder still tries to help out when Garthan Sol is protecting Earth from an invasion of vicious aliens called Dire Wraiths. Sol ends up getting fatally wounded in the battle and transfers his Nova Force to Ryder, who happens to be there, and is apparently the luckiest man in the universe. Ryder's lucky streak continues, as does his penchant for abandoning people at the worst possible moments when he decides to quit the New Warriors just weeks before an explosion kills the entire rest of the team. But the horror doesn't stop there. Annihilus, the insectoid overlord of the Negative Zone, launches an all-out attack on our galaxy, leading an annihilation wave of warships that destroy every planet in their path. Sadly, one of those planets is Xandar. Yes, my poor beleaguered homeworld is demolished once again, as is the Nova Corps, almost all of whom lay down their lives in an attempt to hold back the wave. I say almost because guess who manages to survive unscathed? Of course, it's Ryder. And to save itself, the World Mind even merges with Ryder, which gives him more power than ever. Perhaps Ryder has come to learn by this time, though, that he can't save the world by himself because he pulls together a united front of cosmic warriors, including Quasar, Star-Lord, Drax, Gamora, Ronan the Accuser, and even a few former heralds of Galactus. Their mission is to both evacuate endangered planets and to fight back the Annihilation Wave. Taking out Annihilus himself seems impossible, though, because of the villain's impenetrable armored shell. Until Ryder spots the bug-eyed alien's one weak spot, his mouth. Ryder flies straight at Annihilus. He shoves his fist down his throat and lets loose with a blast of Nova Force while shouting, "This is for the Nova Corps!" Okay, I can't lie, that part is pretty cool. After that, Ryder goes back to being a solo hero until one day he's duking it out with some baddies and he gets some unexpected aid from a bunch of other Nova Centurions. And he's shocked to learn that a new Nova Corps has been created while he slept. Literally. Every time he went to sleep, the World Mind had been taking over his body and flying around to recruit new soldiers to the Corps. Once again, the Corps are back. It's another golden age, still without me. Then, in order to save his buddy, Star-Lord, Ryder allows himself to get sucked into an alternate universe called the Cancerverse. And guess what happens while he's gone? Xandar gets flarkin' destroyed again. I mean, come on. Jeez. And then to escape the Cancerverse, Ryder separates himself from the World Mind and abandons it there. The World Mind, which has all the Xandarian souls in it. Yeah, that's who Richard Ryder is. Sure, he saved the universe from all sorts of existential threats, like Annihilus, Galactus, and Thanos. And yes, he's sacrificed himself a bunch of times too. Okay, he's a hero. I'm not going to fight anyone on that. But is he the greatest Nova of all time? Or just the greatest at not being there every time the Nova Corps get turned into Nova corpses? Or am I just bitter because I survived my planet's obliteration 4 times and have not once even received a response to my Nova Corps applications? I'll leave that for you to decide. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a group of Skrull middle schoolers to chaperone through the interactive Groot experience. Enjoy the rest of the museum.
On this day in 1963, Avengers issue number 1 hit newsstands for the very first time. History was made when writer Stan Lee and artist Jack Kirby collaborated on the introduction of Earth's mightiest superheroes. This landmark comic book issue begins with Loki's devious plan to trap Thor using the Hulk as bait. He frames the Green Goliath by tricking him into crushing a railroad bridge, which then leads to a citywide manhunt with Thor, Iron Man, Ant-Man, and the Wasp hot on his trail. Thor deduces that Loki was behind the Hulk's actions, so he goes to Asgard to confront his brother. Eventually, Thor defeats Loki, heads back to Earth, and breaks up a fight between Iron Man and the Hulk, explaining that Loki was behind everything. The heroes decide it's better to stand together, forming a team. The Wasp suggests a name for the group, the Avengers, and the rest is history. And that history has spanned more than 60 years of comic book adventures and nearly 800 issues. And that's not even including spin-off books like The West Coast Avengers, Young Avengers, and Avengers 1 Million BC. The team lineup has changed many times to include household names like Captain America, Black Widow, and Captain Marvel, but also some names you might typically associate with other teams in the Marvel Universe, like Mr. Fantastic, Wolverine, and Mantis. You can always trust that when a team is needed to fight the foes no single superhero could withstand, the Avengers will assemble. Next week on the official Marvel podcast, we'll talk to Marvel Games executive producer Danny Koo about the runaway hit video game Marvel Rivals.
Marvel Rivals is a superhero team-based PvP third-person shooter. It's a 6 versus 6 game. You can pick countless of heroes from a roster choice of about 45 now, and the battlefield is going to be ever-changing.
That's it for this episode. If you haven't already, make sure to leave us a review wherever you're listening. It helps other Marvel fans find the show.
Yes, and make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an episode.
This episode was hosted by Victoria Ying and myself, Quinn Lamar.
Our producers are Jasmine Estrada and Anita Flores, with additional writing by Christopher Healy and a performance by Marshall York.
With help from Senior Manager of Audio Production and Development, Brad Barton, and Production Manager, Emily Godfrey.
Mixed by Justin Harris.
Theme music by Ida Akbal.
Executive producers are Larissa Rosen and Jesse Berger.
Thanks for listening. See you next week.